Sue Belcom.
And Annie Carlson.
And once again, we're going to go from food to the politics of food. So tell me, Annie, what's going on with food that we can look forward to in the news, politically speaking?
Well, Sue, Pink Slime, as you may remember from about a year ago, is set to make the news again. The beef industry is gearing up for another battle of lean, finely textured beef, LFTB, as it's commonly known in the industry. This time, the battle is over its use in school lunch programs.
Well, as you know, I am the North Dakota State contact for the National Farm to School Organization, and we are always very interested in these things, but this is new. I did not hear about this, but I'm very concerned about something that you can actually make an acronym out of that you're eating. I don't eat acronyms. Do you?
I do not.
Ugh. So tell me, what happened here? What's going on?
Well, the Beef magazine posted on their blog and warning producers that we need to gear up for another LFTB fight. And as students are coming back to school this fall, a lot of parents are questioning whether LFTB is used in their school lunch meals.
Go parents, go parents, go parents. This is not going to change unless the parents get into the schools and say, we don't want this stuff served to our children. And I use the word stuff lightly here.
Yes, and that's what's happening. Beef magazine reported that 7 states have ordered 2 million pounds of LFTB to serve in school lunches. And a lot of parents are, as you might be guessing, they're concerned. And they are reportedly planning boycotts.
Did they name the states that ordered all this?
Not in this article.
That's too bad. So tell me, what would a parent have to be concerned about when it comes to LFTB?
So the American Meat Institute published a Q&A document after the first Pink Slime incident. And the name Pink Slime was coined by ABC News when they broke the story. And that's their name for it. The beef industry, of course, doesn't like that name. They want it to be lean, finely textured beef.
I know, but wasn't this a photograph going around like people were sharing this photograph and they were showing a picture of something and saying, can you guess what this stuff is? And I looked at it and I'm like, it looks like bubble gum, whatever is that stuff? It looked like pink bubble gum coming out of an extruder.
Well, and Jamie Oliver got behind it and really kind of exploded the Pink Slime
because that's what we're talking about.
Yep.
Like that picture of stuff that is unbelievable. Like it just gags me thinking about eating something made out of that.
Yep.
And calling it a hamburger anyway. So I have to ask, and maybe you don't know this question, but this 2 million pounds of this lean, finely textured beef, does that come in the form of crumbles, patties, chubs, or do you know how they actually sell this to the schools?
I don't know how it's packaged. I would imagine it would be packaged as all 3. I mean, when you're selling to the school market, you kind of have to offer all 3 of those packages.
And do the school lunch ladies know what they're buying here?
Well, as you're very well aware, Sue, the school lunch programs have a pretty strict budget. And when you're trying to put food on the table for $2.60, you're going to use the cheapest protein source available. So the lean, finely textured beef product is what has filled that bill. Until, we found out what it really was, and then schools, being forced by the parents, are trying to find alternatives.
So did you read the Q&A document that explains what this is and what this isn't? If you did, can you kind of share some of that information with us?
As you would imagine, it's an industry document. It's put together by the American Meat Institute. And so what they talk about is that it's very safe. It's inspected by the USDA inspectors. There are 2 types. One is called boneless lean beef trimmings, and the other is called finely textured beef. They're similar in many ways, but they use different antimicrobial treatments.
Are you talking about dosing them with radiation or chlorine or some godforsaken thing like that?
Yep, they use antimicrobial treatments to enhance the safety of the finished product.
So is there any meat left by the time they're done dosing it with whatever they're dosing it with?
Well, let me look here.
And what are those? What do they have a specific industry standard that they use to treat this meat?
Food grade ammonium hydroxide, which is basically ammonia plus water. has been declared safe by the FDA since 1974 and is used to produce a number of products, such as puddings and baked goods, and can be used in the processing of boneless lean beef trimmings to control any harmful bacteria that may be present in the beef.
So what they're doing is using Mr. Clean on our beef?
Well, they're using ammonium hydroxide gas, and that slightly raises the pH of the product, and that destroys bacteria that can make someone ill if the raw product is not cooked thoroughly.
So what would be an alternative to when you take into consideration the food safety aspect? Because I know nobody wants anybody to get sick, but there's got to be an alternative to this process, don't you think? No?
I don't know that the industry is really looking for an alternative. We have to keep in mind, Sue, that this is really cheap protein that they're selling.
But then
this is something that they would be
cheap. I mean, are they feeding our kids?
This is stuff that they would have to. This is be trim. This would be go on the cutting room floor.
Stuff that they would throw away
or send to the rendering plant.
Oh my gosh!
So they're making money on something that would normally be a throwaway product.
And they're making money by selling it to the schools, and our kids are eating it. And I'm thinking, I really think more of my children than that, don't you?
Well, and they're selling it to people who want a cheap source of protein. School districts, are trying to make that $2.65 budget, and this is an easy way for them to do it.
Which may be the first thing that we need to change is the fact that we don't put very much emphasis on the school lunch program. You can't go out. When you send, well, your kids aren't old enough, but if you sent your kids to go out for lunch, you sure as heck would give them more than $2.40, right?
Absolutely.
I could probably cook something at home for $2.40. This just makes me crazy. So the article that the American Meat Institute published was in favor of using this meat?
The American Meat Institute link that's going to be in the show notes is just their Q&A about finely textured beef.
So it doesn't really say use this or not use this.
Right. It just says answers questions about it. And one other thing I'd like to point out from their Q&A document is the question, when any form of lean, finely textured beef is blended into ground beef, will it be labeled? And they say because it is 100% beef, LFTB is not singled out as a separate ingredient on ground beef packages.
Are you telling me I might find this on my grocery store shelf?
That's what it sounds like.
Oh my gosh. I think everybody needs to be informed about these things and make wise food choices.
They're calling on producers to, lobby in favor of lean, finely textured beef, and to, make sure people understand that it's safe and that it's an easy source of protein. And I heard Dr. Don Huber speak a couple of weeks ago, and he put it this way that I think is just so true and accurate, and that he said that the industrial food system kind of has the attitude toward consumers of just shut up and eat it. So that struck me, and that resonated with me when I read this article. The Beef Magazine is calling on producers, to support this and support the use of finely textured beef in school lunches because it's a cheap source of protein.
Okay.
Just shut up and eat it.
So if I was a beef producer, I think I would be embarrassed that this was happening. I would want people to get the best beef that I could possibly raise. Do you think that there's that attitude out there amongst the beef producers in this state?
Well, the beef producers, like National Cattlemen's Beef Association, they're run by the cattlemen. When you pay your checkoff dollars for every head that you sell, you pay a checkoff dollar. And those checkoff dollars go into the beef fund. And that's what funds these activities. So they say that they're speaking for cattlemen, but they're really speaking for packers and stockyards.
And it's all about the almighty dollar, I would guess. The bottom line comes into play here, doesn't it?
Yes.
Gosh, you've got to read this article. Find it on our show notes after this podcast and get informed. And then go and talk to your school cooks. Go in and talk to your restaurants. Ask where the food is coming from. That's the only way we're going to change the food system.
Absolutely. And in your own home kitchens, buy your meat from a local farmer.
I do. In fact, I can hardly wait. I have like 2 pounds of ground beef left, and I'm waiting for a Kirshenman family farm. Are they steers? heifers, whatever
Cows
they
of some
are,
sort.
cows of some sort. Yes, my sister-in-law and I we actually bought a half of an animal out there in the field. We went out and interviewed him and asked him his name, and we're going to eat him this winter, and I can't hardly stand it. It'll be grass finished too.
Did you pick the right side or the left side?
I want the right side. Oh gosh, darn it! That's a good question, and I want to know who's getting the left side too. So don't forget, come back next week and find all of our show notes, and all of our broadcasts will be available to listen to at your leisure.
Find future podcasts on our new website, farmsnews.com, FARRMS, or on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/farmsnews, and our very own iTunes channel. It's easy to join us every week for Farms News.
But this isn't just about us, it's about you. If you have an issue, a comment, or you'd like to be a guest on our next episode, please call us. Call us at 701-527-5169 or 701-486-3569. If you prefer to email your questions, email them to info@farms.org.
And don't forget to stop by often at farmsnews.com. We'll see you next week on the Farms News Podcast.
Bye now.